Oh, and Mr. Gumble, for the duration of the training, there'll be no more beer.
What? 3 whole weeks with only wine? I'll go crazy!
This is Just Here for the Beer Radio on TSN 1040.
Just Here for the Beer Radio is broadcasting from The Pint, downtown, where you get that beautiful plate of wings. Wing Wednesday.
Wing Wednesday. We came in here, Mr. Leary, and it was just jammed.
Absolutely. 40 varieties, 41 varieties. If Bubba's around, see if Bubba can make you our special wasabi. Yeah, pretty cool. We're joined by Dave Smith, who is the editor of What's Brewing magazine. The fall 2019 issue is in our hot little hands and will be available to readers very, very shortly. Dave, 5 cool things, but we start off with one that is a downer note, and that was the passing of John Mitchell. And as we said, and we paid homage to John, if you look back at the origins of the selling of beer, the distribution of beer, and the independence of beer in British Columbia, were it not for a John Mitchell, there wouldn't be a What's Brewing magazine, there wouldn't be a beer radio show, there wouldn't be a craft beer industry, anything like what we enjoy today.
Well, somebody had to start it.
Yeah.
And, first of all, everyone doing good. How are you guys?
I'm doing really good.
Awesome. So, I was really pleased to be able to get to know John while he was alive. When John passed away in June, it was a big loss. One of the things that I'm really happy about is that John, he was actually a big supporter of the magazine. He was a subscriber to What's Brewing. He liked the magazine. He liked the stories in it. So before he passed, one of the things that he did is he reached out to us and he said, I'd like to do an interview with you. I'd like to sit down and have a few words. I have some video of it from visiting him and his wife Jenny at their house in North Vancouver back in the spring. So we had a celebration of life for him on July 14th. It was attended by a really good crowd of people that come from all over BC to pay tribute to John. A lot of people that have been in the craft beer industry for a long time or a short time. They understand how important he was to Canadian brewing industry. He really was the one that made it all happen.
He certainly was. Your cover story is Mariner Brewing in Coquitlam. They've been probably at it for, I'm going to guess, about 2 years now?
Yeah, I think they're coming up on their second anniversary.
That's correct. So Mariner, they have a really unique program, which is that they have the exploratory batch series where they've got a new brew coming out every Thursday. So they're in Coquitlam. Actually, a very convenient location in some ways because they're right by the SkyTrain station, Coquitlam Station.
Yeah.
So you can hop on the station, the SkyTrain, get off at. You've got a few stops along the way because you can get off at Dagorad, you can get off at Port Moody.
That's right.
Those are some big attractions on the SkyTrain. But then you keep going, and then you get all the way to Mariner. And when you go there, if you go there on a Thursday, they'll have a fresh batch of beer every Thursday, a new creation. They call it exploratory batch. And it's kind of the theme of our cover. So when you look at the cover of What's Brewing this issue, you're going to find that it's all about kind of this sci-fi kind of interest that they have in exploring things. And that's why the name Mariner, it's a spacecraft. It's all about searching and discovering. And it's also the name of the street in Coquitlam that they're very close to. So the Mariner Brewing is a really unique kind of story, and you'll find out more about it when you look at What's Brewing this issue.
Tell us about West Coast IPA.
So one of the things that we're doing in this issue too is every issue we look at a certain kind of beer, and it took we've been doing this for years, but it took until this very issue that we finally went back to kind of the beginning of what we kind of think of as IPA, the thing that really was the biggest, most popular style in craft beer for years. It was a hoppy beer, West Coast hops. It was a clear beer. And what transpired a few years ago is that New England IPA kind of came along and in some ways has pushed what we called IPA before to the curb, and now we call it West Coast IPA. We didn't even have to call it West Coast IPA
That's
before.
true.
It didn't have that name because we didn't need that name. So Northeast IPA is great. It's the hottest thing in craft beer over the last 3 years, I would say. But there's a lot of good West Coast IPA still being made, and we compare some of the old school standards with some of the new up-and-coming breweries that are doing that style.
We're talking with Dave Smith, the editor of What's Brewing magazine, the fall 2019 issue just about to drop. And finally, you have an event coming up at Legacy very soon.
We do. So on October 15th, we're going to be hosting what we call an evening with the tasting panel. And that same panel that I just described, that we're doing the IPAs with. So they will be there in person, and we will be trying beers, and it's a really unique event because it's blind served. Everybody gets poured 5 different tasting samples, but you don't know what it is, and we taste through it. We kind of discover what the style is by guessing and extrapolation, and then you find out at the end. It's a lot of fun, and you'll find it on www.whatsbrewing.ca.
This is always a pleasure, Mr. Dave Smith, the editor of What's Brewing magazine.